The rain fell hard on the small town of Ironville. It was a frontier settlement on the edge of human space, far from the busy cities and bright lights of the core worlds. Here, life was simple. People worked hard, minded their own business, and tried to survive in a galaxy that did not care about small places like this. T-Sun stood in the doorway of his workshop. He was a mechanic, 34 years old, with rough hands and tired eyes. He had spent the whole day fixing an old cargo hauler for a farmer who could not afford to pay full price. That was fine. T-Sun was not a rich man, but he believed in helping when he could. He wiped the grease from his fingers with an old rag and looked up at the dark sky. The rain was getting worse. He should go inside. His wife Sumin would have dinner ready soon, and he was hungry. But then he heard it, a sound that did not belong to the storm. It was the whine of a dying engine, struggling and coughing like a sick animal. T-Sun looked toward the landing zone at the edge of town. Through the sheets of rain, he saw a small shuttle coming down. It was not landing. It was falling. The ship hit the ground hard. Smoke poured from its back end. Sparks flew into the wet air. T-Sun watched as the hatch opened slowly, grinding against damaged metal. Two figures came out. T-Sun's breath caught in his throat. They were Velorians, dragon people. He had never seen one in person before, only in pictures and news reports. They were tall and covered in scales. They had long tails and wings folded against their backs. Their faces were long and sharp, like the dragons from old Earth stories. The first one was an adult female. Her scales were amber-colored, but they looked dull and dry, like she had not eaten well in a long time. She held her left arm close to her body. It was bleeding. Dark red blood dripped down and mixed with the rain. The second one was a child. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old by human counting. Her scales were lighter, almost golden. She held her mother's hand tightly and looked around with wide, frightened eyes. T-Sun knew about the Velorians. Everyone did. Their empire had fallen 5 years ago when the Keth Dominion invaded their homeworld. The Keth were ruthless conquerors who wanted to erase the Velorians completely. They hunted survivors across the galaxy. Most species did not want to get involved. Helping a Velorian meant making an enemy of the Keth. The mother fell to her knees. She was too weak to stand. The little girl tried to hold her up, but she was too small. She looked around the town with desperate eyes. Lights were on in the windows. People were watching, but no one came out. T-Sun saw the fear in the child's eyes. He saw the way she looked from door to door, hoping someone would help, but the doors stayed closed. The little girl's eyes found T-Sun's workshop. She saw the light. She saw him standing in the doorway. She tugged on her mother's arm and pointed at him. "Don't cry, Mama," the little girl said. Her voice was soft but clear even through the rain. "Maybe that human will assist us." Something twisted in T-Sun's chest. He thought about his own daughter, who had died 3 years ago from a sickness the doctors could not cure. She had been about the same age as this little dragon girl. She had the same hopeful look in her eyes, even at the end. T-Sun grabbed his toolbox. He stepped out into the rain. Behind him, he heard a door open. It was old Junho, the former soldier who lived next door. "T-Sun," the old man called out. "What are you doing? Those are Velorians. The Keth will come looking for them." T-Sun did not stop walking. "Then let them come," he said. He reached the 2 Velorians. The mother looked up at him with golden eyes full of fear and pain. She tried to move away to protect her daughter, but she had no strength left. T-Sun knelt down in the mud. He spoke slowly and softly, like he was talking to a scared animal. "I am T-Sun. I fix ships. I can help you." The mother stared at him. She did not trust him. Why would she? Humans had not helped her before. No one had helped her. But the little girl stepped forward. She was not afraid. Children often saw the world more clearly than adults. "My name is Nuri," she said. "This is my mama. Her name is Rila. Our ship is broken and Mama is hurt. Can you really help us?" T-Sun looked at the child. Her scales were wet from the rain. Her wings were pressed flat against her back. She was shivering, but her eyes were bright with hope. "Yes," he said, "I can help." He helped Rila stand. She was heavy, but T-Sun was strong from years of lifting engine parts. He put her arm over his shoulder and started walking toward his workshop. Nuri walked beside them, holding her mother's hand. The townspeople watched from their windows. Some shook their heads, some looked angry, a few looked worried, but no one tried to stop him. When they reached the workshop, Su-min was waiting at the door. She was a small woman with kind eyes and gray hair that came too early from too much worry. She looked at the two Valorians. She looked at her husband. She did not ask questions. "Bring them inside," she said. "I will get blankets." T-Sun helped Rila onto the old couch in the corner of the workshop. Su-min came with blankets and wrapped them around the shivering mother. Then she looked at the wound on Rila's arm. "This is bad," Su-min said, "but I can clean it. I have some medicine." Rila finally spoke. Her voice was weak and rough. "Why are you helping us? You do not know us. You owe us nothing." T-Sun looked at her. "You needed help," he said simply. "That is enough reason." Rila did not know what to say. She had been running for 2 years. She had begged for help on a dozen worlds. Everyone had turned her away. Humans were supposed to be the same as everyone else. Cold, selfish, afraid. But this human was different. Su-min came back with a bowl of warm rice porridge. She handed it to Nuri. The little dragon girl looked at it with curious eyes. "What is this?" Nuri asked. "Food," Su-min said with a gentle smile. "Try it. It will warm you up." Nuri took a small bite. Her eyes went wide. "Mama, it is good. It is really good." For the first time in a long time, Rila felt something other than fear. She watched her daughter eat. She watched these humans move around, preparing medicine and blankets, asking nothing in return. She did not understand it, but she was grateful. Outside, the rain kept falling. Somewhere in the dark sky, beyond the clouds, the stars were watching. And somewhere out there, hunters were searching. They would not stop until they found her. But for now, Rila was warm. Her daughter was fed. And a human mechanic was walking toward their broken ship with a toolbox in his hand. Maybe, just maybe, they had finally found a safe place. T-Sun looked at the damaged shuttle. It was worse than he thought. The engine was almost dead. The hull had holes patched with scrap metal. The navigation system was fried. But T-Sun had fixed worse. He opened his toolbox and got to work. The rain fell. The night grew dark. And in a small workshop on a forgotten world, a human decided to do something that would change everything. He decided to care. Morning came slow and gray. The rain had stopped, but the clouds stayed. T-Sun had worked through the night. His eyes were red and tired, but he did not stop. The Valorian shuttle needed a lot of work. Inside the workshop, Rila woke up on the old couch. For a moment, she did not know where she was. Then she remembered the crash, the rain, the human who helped her. She sat up slowly. Her arm hurt, but it was wrapped in clean bandages now. The human woman had taken care of her wound while she slept. Rila looked around the workshop. Tools hung on the walls. Engine parts sat on shelves. It smelled like oil and metal. It was a simple place, but it felt safe. Nuri was not on the couch. Rila's heart jumped with fear. Where was her daughter? Then she heard laughter. It came from outside. Rila stood up and walked to the door. Her body was weak, but she had to find her child. She looked outside and stopped. Nuri was sitting on an old crate near the shuttle. She was watching T-Sun work on the engine. The human was explaining something to her, pointing at different parts of the machine. Nuri was listening with wide, excited eyes. She asked questions, and he answered them patiently. Rila had not seen her daughter smile like that in a very long time. Su-min appeared beside her. "She has been helping him all morning," the human woman said. "She hands him tools. She asks about everything. She is very curious." Rila did not know what to say. She watched her daughter laugh at something T-Sun said. The human pretended to be angry, but he was smiling too. "Why?" Rila asked. Her voice was quiet. "Why are you doing this? You know what we are. You know the danger." Su Min looked at her with calm eyes. "My husband lost his daughter 3 years ago. Her name was Yuri. She was about the same age as your Nuri. She was sick, and the doctors could not save her." Rila felt pain in her chest. She understood loss. She had lost everything. "After Yuri died, T-Sun changed," Su Min continued. "He stopped smiling. He stopped talking to people. He just worked on machines all day, every day. I was scared I would lose him too." She paused and looked at Nuri. "But last night when he saw your daughter, something woke up in him. I saw it. For the first time in 3 years, he wanted to help someone. He wanted to protect someone." Rila looked at the human mechanic. He was covered in grease and dirt. He looked tired, but he was smiling at her daughter like she was the most precious thing in the world. "Your daughter gave him a reason," Su Min said. "That is why we help, because sometimes helping others helps us too." Rila felt tears in her eyes. She had been so alone for so long. She had forgotten what kindness felt like. "Thank you," she whispered. Su Min smiled. "Come, you need to eat. You cannot heal on an empty stomach." They went inside. Su Min made breakfast. It was simple food, rice, vegetables, and some dried fish. Rila had never eaten human food before. It was strange, but it was good. It filled her stomach and warmed her heart. Later that day, T-Sun came inside to give a report on the shuttle. He sat down heavily on a chair. His face was serious. "The ship is in bad shape," he said. "The plasma conduit is cracked. The navigation computer is dead. The hull has holes everywhere. Someone patched them with scrap metal, but it is not safe for space travel." Rila nodded. She knew all of this. She had kept the ship running on hope and prayers for 2 years. "Can you fix it?" she asked. T-Sun was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "Yes, but I need parts. Some of them I have here. Some of them I need to find. There is an old ship graveyard about 50 kilometers from here. I can find what I need there." "How long will it take?" Rila asked. "A few days, maybe a week." Rila's heart sank. A week was a long time. The hunters could find them in a week, but she had no choice. She could not run without a ship. "I have no money," she said quietly. "I cannot pay you." T-Sun waved his hand. "I did not ask for money." Rila stared at him. "But the parts, your time, your risk, this will cost you." The human shrugged. "I have been saving money for years. I do not know what I was saving it for. Maybe I was saving it for this." Rila did not understand this human. She had met many species in her travels. Most of them were selfish. They helped only when they could get something in return. But this human was different. He gave without asking. He helped without expecting. "You are strange," she said. T-Sun laughed. It was a rough, tired laugh, but it was real. "My wife says the same thing." Over the next few days, T-Sun worked on the shuttle from sunrise to sunset. Nuri followed him everywhere. She called him Uncle T, and he did not tell her to stop. He taught her the names of tools. He showed her how engines worked. He told her stories about the ships he had fixed and the places he had seen. Nuri loved every moment. She had never had anyone like him before. Her father had died during the invasion when she was too young to remember. She had only ever known running and hiding and fear. But here, in this small workshop on this strange world, she felt something new. She felt safe. Rila watched her daughter change. The fear in Nuri's eyes started to fade. She laughed more. She smiled more. She talked about the future like it was something to look forward to, not something to fear. One evening, Rila found Nuri sitting with Su Min. The human woman was brushing the little dragon girl's scales with a soft cloth. Nuri was purring, a sound Valorians made when they were happy and relaxed. "She has beautiful scales," Su Min said when she saw Rila. "They just needed some care." Rila sat down beside them. You are good with children." Sadness flickered in Sumin's eyes. "I had practice. Before Yuri. Before she got sick, I used to do this for her every night. She had long hair. She loved when I brushed it." Yuri looked up at Sumin. "I am sorry about your daughter," she said. "She sounds nice." Sumin smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. She was very nice, just like you." That night Rila could not sleep. She walked outside and found T-Sun still working on the shuttle. The moon was high and the air was cold. "You should rest," she said. T-Sun did not look up. "I will rest when the job is done." Rila stood beside him. "May I ask you something?" "Yes." "Your daughter, what was she like?" T-Sun's hand stopped moving. He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "She was kind. She always wanted to help people, animals too. She once saved a bird with a broken wing. She took care of it for weeks until it could fly again." He paused. "She asked me once what kind of man I wanted to be. I told her I wanted to be the kind of man who helps, the kind of man she could be proud of." Rila felt tears on her face. "She would be proud of you now." T-Sun finally looked at her. His eyes were wet. "I hope so." They stood together in the moonlight, two parents who had lost too much, two survivors who were still fighting. "I will not let them take your daughter," T-Sun said quietly. "I promise." Rila believed him. She did not know why, but she believed him. Somewhere in the stars, danger was coming. The hunters were searching. They would not stop. But here, in this small town on this forgotten world, something powerful was growing. It was called hope. And it started with a human who decided to care. 3 days passed in the small town of Ironville. The shuttle was coming together. T-Sun had found most of the parts he needed at the old ship graveyard. He worked day and night, and the machine that once looked like a pile of scrap metal now looked like a real ship again. Nuri spent every moment with Uncle T. She handed him tools before he asked for them. She memorized the names of every engine part. She asked 1,000 questions, and he answered every single one. At night, she told her mother everything she had learned. "Uncle T says the plasma conduit is like the heart of the ship," Nuri said one evening. "It pumps energy to all the other parts. Without it, nothing works." Rila smiled at her daughter. "You are learning a lot." "Uncle T is a good teacher." Nuri paused and looked at her mother with serious eyes. "Mama, can we stay here? I like it here. I like Uncle T and Auntie Sumin. I do not want to run anymore." Rila's heart broke a little. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to tell her daughter that they could stay, that they were safe, that the running was over. But she could not lie. "We will see, little one," she said. "We will see." On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. T-Sun was under the shuttle fixing the last piece of the hull when he heard the sound. It was distant at first, like thunder far away, but it grew louder, closer. He slid out from under the ship and looked up at the sky. His blood went cold. A ship was coming. It was not a cargo vessel or a transport. It was a hunter ship, sleek and black, built for speed and violence. The mark of the Keth Dominion was painted on its side. They had found them. T-Sun ran to the workshop. Rila was inside with Sumin and Nuri. They all heard the sound now. Rila's face went pale. Nuri grabbed her mother's hand. "They are here," Rila whispered. "They found us." T-Sun looked at Sumin. "Take them to the back room. Close the door. Do not come out no matter what." Sumin nodded. She took Rila and Nuri by the hands and led them away. Nuri looked back at T-Sun with frightened eyes. "Uncle T," she called out. "It is okay, little one," he said with a calm voice he did not feel. "Stay with Auntie Sumin. I will handle this." The hunter ship landed in the center of town. Dust flew everywhere. People came out of their homes to see what was happening. They stood in the streets, watching with fear and curiosity. The ship's ramp came down, and 7 figures walked out. 6 of them were soldiers. They wore black armor and carried energy rifles. Their faces were hidden behind dark helmets. They moved like machines, cold and precise. The seventh was their leader. He was not wearing a helmet. His face was long and cruel, with pale skin and eyes like ice. His name was Vorn, and he was the most famous hunter in the Keth Dominion. He had killed hundreds of Valorians. He enjoyed his work. Vorn walked into the middle of the street. He looked at the humans standing around him like they were insects. "I am looking for 2 Valorian fugitives," he said. His voice was loud and sharp. "A female and a child. They crashed on this pathetic little world 4 days ago. I know they are here." No one spoke. The townspeople looked at each other. Some looked scared, some looked angry, but no one said anything. Vorn smiled. It was not a nice smile. "I understand. You are protecting them. How noble, how foolish." He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A hologram appeared in the air. It showed Rila and Nuri. "These are the fugitives. If you give them to me, I will leave peacefully. If you do not, I will burn this town to the ground." Still no one spoke. Vorn's smile faded. His eyes became cold. "You have 1 hour. After that, I will start killing." He turned and walked back to his ship. His soldiers stayed in the street, watching the townspeople with their rifles ready. T-Sun watched from the doorway of his workshop. His heart was beating fast, but his mind was clear. He had faced danger before. He had been a soldier once, long ago, before he became a mechanic. He had seen war. He had seen death. He was not afraid. But he was worried. He was 1 man against 7. He had no armor, no weapons. He had only his hands and his tools. Then he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned and saw old Junho standing behind him. The former soldier was wearing his old combat vest. In his hands was a rifle that had not been fired in years. "You did not think I would let you face them alone, did you?" Junho said. T-Sun stared at him. "This is not your fight." Junho shook his head. "I served in the Galactic Corps for 20 years. I fought for peace and justice. I retired because I was tired of fighting, but I never stopped believing in what I fought for." He looked toward the hunter's ship. "Those Keth think they can come here and threaten us. They think we are weak. They are wrong." Another voice spoke up. "He is right." T-Sun turned and saw Hana, the young pilot who lived down the street. She was holding a pistol. "I am not a soldier," she said, "but I know how to shoot, and I will not let them take that little girl." More people came forward. D1, the old engineer who had helped T-Sun fix ships for years. Yuna, the town doctor who had treated every sick person in Ironville. Young farmers, old shopkeepers, men and women who had never held weapons in their lives. They all came. T-Sun looked at them. His eyes were wet. "You know what this means. If we fight, the Keth will remember. They will come back. They will punish us." Junho nodded. "Then let them come. We will be ready." For a long moment, T-Sun could not speak. He had lived in this town for 10 years. He had fixed their ships and machines. He had attended their weddings and funerals. He knew these people, but he had never known how brave they were. "Thank you," he finally said. Junho smiled. "Do not thank us yet. We have a fight to win first." They spent the next hour preparing. Junho knew the most about combat, so he took charge. He placed people at different points around the town. He showed them how to use cover, how to aim, how to retreat if needed. He turned farmers and shopkeepers into soldiers. T-Sun went back to check on Rila and Nuri. They were in the back room with Su-Min. Rila's face was full of guilt. "This is my fault," she said. "I brought this danger to your town. You should give us to them. Save yourselves." T-Sun shook his head. "No. But your people will die for us, for strangers." T-Sun knelt down so he was at eye level with Nuri. The little dragon girl was crying. Tears rolled down her golden scales. "Hey," he said softly, "do you remember what you said the night you arrived? You pointed at me and told your mother that maybe I would help." Nuri nodded. She wiped her tears with her small claws. "You were right," T-Sun said. "I am going to help, and so is everyone else in this town, because that is what we do. We help each other. We protect each other. We do not abandon people who need us." He stood up and looked at Rila. "The galaxy has been cruel to you. It has taken everything from you. But not everyone in the galaxy is cruel. Some of us still believe in doing the right thing." Rila stared at him. She had no words. She had been running for so long. She had forgotten that there were people like this. People who would fight for strangers. People who would risk everything for what was right. "Stay here," T-Sun said. "Stay safe. We will protect you." He turned and walked out of the room. Outside, the sun was setting. The hour was almost over. Vorn was standing in the street, waiting. T-Sun stepped out of his workshop. The townspeople stood with him. Old soldiers and young farmers, doctors and shopkeepers. A small group of humans against the might of the Keth Dominion. Vorn looked at them and laughed. "You think you can stop me? You are insects. I will crush you." T-Sun stood tall. "Then come and try." The battle for Ironville was about to begin. Vorn raised his hand. His soldiers lifted their rifles. The sunset painted the sky red and orange, like fire spreading across the heavens. It was beautiful. It felt wrong to have violence under such a beautiful sky. "Last chance," Vorn said. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Give me the Valorians and you can go back to your simple little lives." T-Sun did not move. Behind him, the people of Ironville held their positions. Their hands were shaking. Their hearts were pounding, but they did not run. "No," T-Sun said. Vorn sighed like a parent dealing with a stubborn child. "Very well." He lowered his hand. "Kill them all." The soldiers opened fire. But the humans were not where the soldiers expected. Jun-Ho had positioned everyone behind cover. Old cargo crates, stone walls, overturned carts. The energy blasts hit metal and stone instead of flesh. Jun-Ho shouted orders. The townspeople returned fire. Their weapons were old. Their aim was not perfect, but there were more of them and they knew every corner of this town. Hana was on the roof of a building, firing down at the soldiers. She hit one in the shoulder. He fell back, wounded but not dead. D1 had set up a trap near the water tower. When two soldiers ran toward it for cover, he triggered a switch. A pile of heavy machine parts fell from above. One soldier jumped out of the way. The other was not fast enough. Yuna stayed back, ready to treat the wounded. She prayed there would not be too many. T-Sun moved through the streets like a shadow. He did not have a gun. He had something better. He had spent 10 years learning every path, every hiding spot, every weak point in this town. He knew where the soldiers would go before they knew themselves. He came up behind a soldier who was reloading his rifle. T-Sun hit him hard with a heavy wrench. The soldier went down without a sound. But Vorn was not fighting with his soldiers. He stood back, watching, waiting. He was looking for something, someone. T-Sun realized too late. Vorn was not here for a battle. He was here for his target. The hunter moved fast. While the humans were busy fighting his soldiers, Vorn slipped away. He knew where the Valorians were hiding. He could smell their fear. T-Sun saw him disappear around a corner. He ran after him, but he was too far away. Vorn reached the workshop. He kicked the door open. It flew off its hinges and crashed against the wall. He walked inside, his boots heavy on the floor. Su Min stood in front of the back room door. She was small. She was not a fighter, but she held a kitchen knife in her hands and her eyes were hard. "Get out of my home," she said. Vorn laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. "Step aside, human. I have no interest in you." "I said get out." Vorn moved faster than she could see. He grabbed her wrist and twisted. The knife fell to the floor. He threw her aside like a rag doll. She hit the wall and crumpled to the ground. Vorn opened the back room door. Rila was there, standing in front of Nuri. Her wounded arm was still wrapped in bandages. She had no weapon, but she would not let him take her daughter, not without a fight. "Hello, Rila," Vorn said. He knew her name. He had been hunting her for a long time. "You have led me on quite a chase, but the chase is over now." "Please," Rila said. Her voice was shaking. "Take me. Let my daughter go. She is just a child. She is no threat to anyone." Vorn shook his head. "You know I cannot do that. Orders are orders. The Dominion wants all Valorians dead. No exceptions, no survivors." He stepped closer. "But do not worry, I will make it quick. You will barely feel anything." Nuri stepped out from behind her mother. Her small body was trembling. Tears streamed down her face, but she spread her wings wide. It was a gesture of defiance, a gesture that said she would not back down. "You will not hurt my mama," she said. Her voice was small but fierce. "You will not hurt Uncle T. You will not hurt anyone." Vorn stopped. He looked at the little dragon girl with something like amusement. Brave little thing, but bravery means nothing against power. He reached for his weapon. Then something hit him in the back of the head, hard. Vorn stumbled forward. He turned around, angry and confused. Sumin was standing behind him. She was bleeding from a cut on her forehead. She could barely stand, but in her hands was the heavy wrench that T-Sun always kept by the door. She swung it again. This time Vorn was ready. He caught the wrench and pulled it from her hands. He raised his fist to strike her. But he never got the chance. T-Sun hit him from the side. They crashed through the wall together, tumbling into the main workshop. T-Sun was not a young man anymore. He was not as strong as he used to be, but he fought like someone who had everything to lose. They rolled across the floor. Vorn was faster, more skilled. He landed a punch that made T-Sun see stars. He kicked him in the stomach. T-Sun gasped for air. Vorn stood over him, breathing hard. "Pathetic," he said. "You humans are all the same, weak, soft. You pretend to be heroes, but you break so easily." T-Sun looked up at him. Blood ran from his mouth. His body ached, but he smiled. "We are not heroes," he said. "We are just people who care." Vorn raised his fist for the final blow. And then Nuri screamed. It was not a normal scream. It was a Valorian war cry passed down through generations, a sound that could shake mountains and make enemies tremble. Nuri was too young to know how to use it properly, but something inside her woke up, something ancient, something powerful. The sound hit Vorn like a wave. He staggered back, his hands over his ears, his face twisted in pain. The war cry was designed to hurt enemies. It was a weapon that Valorians rarely used anymore. For a moment, Vorn was helpless. That moment was all they needed. Junho appeared in the doorway. His rifle was aimed at Vorn's chest. Behind him were Hana, D1, and a dozen other townspeople. The fight outside was over. The Keth soldiers had been defeated. "It is over," Junho said. "Surrender." Vorn looked around. He was surrounded. His soldiers were gone. His ship was still in the center of town, but Hana had already disabled its weapons. He had no way out. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Vorn laughed. It was a bitter, angry sound. "You think this changes anything," he said. "The Dominion will send more hunters. They will never stop. They will burn this world to ash." T-Sun stood up slowly. His body screamed in pain, but he stayed on his feet. He walked toward Vorn until they were face to face. "Maybe," T-Sun said, "but today you lost, today we won, and that is enough." He looked at Junho and nodded. The old soldier moved forward with rope. They tied Vorn's hands behind his back. Rila came out of the back room. She was holding Nuri in her arms. The little dragon girl was exhausted from her war cry. Her body was limp, her eyes half closed, but she was safe. Sumin came to stand beside T-Sun. She was hurt, but she was alive. She leaned against him and he put his arm around her. "Is it over?" she asked. T-Sun looked at the bound hunter. He looked at the townspeople, tired and wounded but still standing. He looked at Rila and Yuri. "For now," he said, "for now it is over." Outside the sun had set. The stars were coming out one by one. The night was quiet. The battle was done. Ironville had stood against the might of the Keth Dominion, and Ironville had won. But T-Sun knew this was not the end. Vorn was right. More hunters would come. The Dominion would not forget. He looked at the little dragon girl sleeping in her mother's arms. He thought about his own daughter, Yuri. He thought about the promise he had made to her. He would be the kind of man she could be proud of. He would not let them take Yuri. Not now, not ever. Whatever came next, he would be ready. Tonight they had won. Tomorrow they would prepare. And the next time the hunters came, they would find not a weak, forgotten town but a fortress. A fortress built on something stronger than walls and weapons. A fortress built on hope. The next morning the sun rose bright and warm over Ironville. It was the first clear day in a week. The sky was blue, the air was fresh, and the town was alive with activity. Hana had sent a distress signal to the Galactic Union before the battle. Now, a Union peacekeeping ship sat in the center of town, right next to the captured Keth hunter vessel. Officers in white uniforms walked through the streets, taking statements and collecting evidence. Vorn and his surviving soldiers sat in energy restraints near their ship. The hunter's face was calm, but his eyes burned with hatred. He watched the humans move around him like he was memorizing their faces, planning revenge. T-Sun stood nearby, talking to a Union officer named Captain Sial. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and kind but serious eyes. She had listened carefully to everything T-Sun told her. "What you did was brave," Captain Sial said, "and very dangerous. The Keth Dominion does not forgive. They will remember this." T-Sun nodded. He knew. What happens now? Captain Sial looked at Vorn. "We will take him into custody. The Galactic Union has been building a case against the Dominion for years. Their hunting of Valorian refugees violates 7 different treaties. This hunter and his testimony could be the evidence we need." "Will it make a difference?" T-Sun asked. He had seen how the galaxy worked. Treaties meant nothing to those with power. Justice was slow when it came at all. Captain Sial was quiet for a moment. "I will not lie to you. The Dominion is powerful. They have friends in high places. This will not be easy." She turned to look at him. "But people like you make it harder for them to hide what they are doing. Every story like yours shines a light on the darkness. Eventually, there will be too much light for them to hide." T-Sun thought about that. He thought about Yuri, his daughter who died too young. She had always believed that good people could change the world. He had not believed her. He had thought she was too young, too innocent, too hopeful. Maybe he had been wrong. Captain Sial shook his hand. "The Union will post a patrol ship in this sector. If the Keth come back, you will have help. You are not alone anymore." She walked away to deal with the prisoners. T-Sun watched her go. Behind him, Su-Min came to stand beside him. She had a bandage on her forehead where Vorn had hurt her, but she was smiling. "How are you feeling?" T-Sun asked. "Tired," she said. "Happy, scared, all at the same time." T-Sun understood. He felt the same way. They stood together in silence for a while, watching the Union officers work. Then Su-Min spoke again. "Do you remember what Yuri said before she died?" T-Sun felt a pain in his heart. Of course he remembered. He remembered every word. "She said she wanted us to keep helping people," Su-Min continued. "She said that helping others was the most important thing a person could do. She said it made the world brighter." T-Sun nodded. His throat was tight. He could not speak. Su-Min took his hand. "I think we did that. I think she would be proud." A single tear rolled down T-Sun's cheek. He wiped it away quickly. "Yeah," he said, "I think so too." Later that day, Rila's shuttle was ready. T-Sun had finished the repairs the night before, between the battle and the arrival of the Union ship. The shuttle looked like a new vessel now. The hull was clean and solid. The engine hummed with quiet power. The navigation system was upgraded with the latest maps. Rila stood in front of the ship, looking at it with amazement. She could not believe it was the same broken wreck that had crashed here days ago. "You did all this," she said to T-Sun. "You gave us so much. How can I ever repay you?" T-Sun shook his head. "You do not need to repay me. Just keep your daughter safe. Keep her smiling. That is enough." Rila's eyes filled with tears. She stepped forward and hugged him. It surprised him. Valorians were not usually so affectionate with strangers, but they were not strangers anymore. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for everything." When she stepped back, she looked at Su-min. The two women embraced as well. Su-min held her tight. "You are always welcome here," Su-min said. "This is your home too, whenever you need it." Nuri came running up. She had been playing with some of the local children, teaching them Valorian games. Her scales were bright and healthy now, and her eyes sparkled with energy. "Uncle T, Auntie Su-min," she called out. She crashed into T-Sun's legs and hugged him tight. T-Sun bent down and picked her up. She was heavier than she looked, but he did not mind. He held her close and looked into her golden eyes. "You be a good girl, okay?" he said. "Listen to your mama, work hard, never stop asking questions." Nuri nodded seriously. "I will, I promise." She paused and her eyes got sad. "Will I see you again?" T-Sun smiled. "Of course you will. The galaxy is big, but it is not that big. Our paths will cross again." Nuri thought about this, then she smiled. "Okay, but you have to promise." "I promise." She hugged him one more time, her small arms tight around his neck. Then he put her down and she ran to her mother. The townspeople had gathered to say goodbye. Jun-Ho was there, and Hana and D1 and Yuna and dozens of others. They had come to see off the little family they had fought to protect. Rila looked at them all. She did not know what to say. These humans had risked their lives for her. They had fought for her. They had treated her and her daughter like family when the rest of the galaxy had treated them like garbage. "I do not understand you," she said finally. Her voice was thick with emotion. "The galaxy says humans are average, ordinary, nothing special, but you are not ordinary, you are extraordinary." She looked at each of them in turn. The old soldier, the young pilot, the tired mechanic and his kind wife. "We will never forget what you did," she continued. "Our people will tell stories about you, about the human town that stood against the hunters, about the mechanic who fixed our ship and our hearts, about the humans who reminded us that kindness still exists in the galaxy." She bowed deeply, a gesture of the highest respect among Valorians. Nuri bowed beside her, copying her mother perfectly. The townspeople bowed back. Some of them had tears in their eyes, some of them were smiling, all of them were proud. Rila took Nuri's hand and walked toward the shuttle. They climbed up the ramp and turned at the top. "Goodbye," Nuri called out. "Goodbye, Uncle T. Goodbye, Auntie Su-min. Goodbye, everyone." "Goodbye, little one," T-Sun called back. "Fly safe." The ramp closed. The shuttle's engines powered up, smooth and strong. Slowly it rose into the air. It hovered for a moment as if saying one last farewell, and then it shot up into the sky. Within seconds, it was a dot of light among the clouds. Then it was gone. T-Sun watched until he could not see it anymore. Su-min stood beside him, her hand in his. "Think they will be okay?" she asked. "Yes," T-Sun said. "They are strong, they will be okay." Jun-Ho walked up to them. The old soldier looked tired, but there was a light in his eyes that had not been there before. So he said, "What now?" T-Sun thought about it. He looked at the Union patrol ship in the distance. He looked at the people of Ironville who had stood together against impossible odds. He looked at his workshop, where he had fixed a broken ship and maybe fixed a broken part of himself too. "Now," he said, "we get back to work. There are ships to fix, people to help, a town to rebuild." He started walking toward his workshop. Su Min walked with him. Behind them, the townspeople returned to their lives. The excitement was over. Normal life was calling. But nothing would ever be quite normal again. They had proven something important. They had proven that ordinary people could do extraordinary things. They had proven that compassion was stronger than fear. They had proven that humanity, for all its flaws, had something precious inside it. A spark that could light up the darkest places. A warmth that could melt the coldest hearts. A stubbornness that refused to let evil win. High above the planet, beyond the atmosphere and into the endless void, a little dragon girl pressed her face against the window. She looked down at the blue and green world that had given her so much. "Goodbye, Ironville," she whispered. "Goodbye, Uncle T. I will come back someday, I promise." Beside her, Rila smiled. For the first time in years, she felt hope, real hope, the kind that does not fade. The galaxy was still dangerous. The hunters would not stop. The road ahead was long and uncertain. But they were not alone anymore. They had friends now. They had a place they could call home. And somewhere out there, on a small world at the edge of human space, a mechanic was fixing another broken ship. He was covered in grease and sweat. He was tired and sore, but he was smiling. Because he knew, deep in his heart, that he had done something good. He had made a difference. He had kept his promise to his daughter. He had been the kind of man she could be proud of. And that was enough. The stars stretched out forever, cold and vast and indifferent. But in the warmth of hearts, in the courage of choices, in the simple act of caring for another being, there was a light that could never be extinguished. That light was humanity. And it would burn forever.